We're speaking to Thanuja Ananthan this morning. She is an SPCA ambassador as well as Miss Malaysia World. Thank you so much, Thanuja, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Belinda and JD.
I haven't seen you in like forever, man. And now we're seeing you through Zoom.
I know. Social distancing.
But you're always your exuberant self. So yeah, we can feel your positive energy all the way through the screen. Now, I think the whole of Malaysia knows that you are an animal lover through and through. But tell us about your earliest memory of saving an animal.
I think I shared it on social media the other day. My earliest memory would be when I was at the age of 5, and it was actually my first rescue mission that I remember so clearly today. I went with my mom to the markets, to the wet market, and there was this there were 4 kittens just hiding under the fishmonger's little, they have the little table where they're chopping all the fishes. Right. And I saw these 4 mangy little kittens, and because I was so tiny, so mom was busy picking vegetables on the other end. I just took her wet market basket, and I chucked out all her vegetables, and I just a bunch of kittens, and I just put it in, and I was like, we're taking them home. And I never thought of even asking my parents, like, can I or can we? It was just always like, no, that needs rescuing, and that has to come back with me.
At 5 years old, though.
At 5. So my parents could never really understand. First, they thought I was just being really naughty, and they didn't understand the connection I had with animals. Because to date, I would say it's a connection. I say it's something innate that I can't put in any other words. Because the minute I see or hear an animal in distress, I just have to stop. I get really emotional, and I'm like, no, I have to stop, or I need to do something. It's like a drive that I don't even know. Something takes over me, and I just have to do it.
The warrior princess in Thanuja.
Is it specifically cats and dogs, or is it any animal?
Any animal. In fact, I don't have a fear of any animal. I mean, be it snakes or wildlife, or I just like I said, it's just something that's very innate that I can't really quite comprehend or put a finger on it.
Does the same thing happen with Anuja as well? Like, since it is innate and you guys are identical twins, right? Does Anuja share the same traits?
Very good question, Belinda. So I'll tell you the story of us growing up. So what Anuja was doing while I was doing all this rescue work, I remember, so let me just give you a picture, right? So this is what happened on one of my rescue missions. I think I was 10, and I had a neighbor who had this dog, and she would always just be giving birth, and the puppies would get run down by cars or fall into drains. And every night I could hear the puppies screaming or crying, and I would just jump out of bed, climb over the fencing, like literally sneak out of the house at 1, 2 a.m. And just jump out, and I tell Anuja to stay watch or stay guard to ensure that my parents don't come and stop me. So that's what Anuja did, because every time she hears an animal in distress, she closes her ears and she's like, Tanu, go, Tanu, go. She can't, it doesn't, I think she just feels too overwhelmed to go and help and see that animal in pain. So she's like, go, I can't do it, I can't see, I can't,
But she feels it as much as you do, but you just jump into action.
Yeah, I just jump into action. And I think it actually runs in my family. My mom's just like that. My parents are all animal lovers. I never had a point in time in my life where I've never had a pet. So I've always had an animal. So now if you ask me to live without animal, it's so strange for me. Like I'll get really sad and depressed.
So I'm sure your mom wasn't upset when you chuck out all her vegetables and took the 4 kittens home with you in the basket.
She's like, I don't understand why you did that. But I think by the time I was 10, my parents like, okay, you know what? There's no stopping this girl. Like, it's just something she has to do. Because I would bawl and cry. Like, it would really affect me. I won't eat if I can't save the animal. Like, it was very emotional for me, and I think my parents could only understand it after many years, really. Yeah.
What is it about animals, though, that makes you so compassionate about them?
I think it's just the fact that they're just voiceless. They're helpless. They can't tell you when they're in pain, and I feel like they're just so misunderstood. I think that's the main thing. I just feel for them so much, and the fact that they're so cute and cuddly doesn't help either. So yeah, it's just that. It's just the fact that they're just so helpless and innocent. I think that just drives me towards yeah, that. Like I said, guys, it's innate. I can't quite put a finger on it. It's like below, like way beyond my understanding. Sometimes when I get in that, I just know it's quite a very, very strong connection even to date. Yeah.
Do you hear them speak to you in a sense, or like,
It.
are you like
Yeah.
the animal whisperer? Can you hear them?
I kind of. I don't know how, but every time I seem to be the person that always reaches or am able to see an animal in distress. I have friends who will be like walking with me somewhere, or I'll be driving by and like I'll be able to spot like a dog lying down somewhere in the bushes, like a black dog, and people be like, "We've never seen a dog. How did you catch it?" Or like, "How did you see that animal?" Or like, the minute an animal is in distress, let it even be a pigeon, I'd be like, "Okay, something's up with it." And people are like, "How do you know it's sick? Or how can you tell like something's wrong with it?" I just guess it's a consciousness that's built in me. I have no idea, but it's just something that's like I said, it's just very strong, and yeah, it's just a drive that never
You
left
have
me.
an animal instinct.
I do. I really feel
Literally.
like, yeah, I really feel like I do, and I am able to communicate with animals, Belinda, some way or form. Like, I mean, on some of my travel shows, I've gone across the world. I've been to Taiwan, and I was able to communicate with a sea lion at Wet World in Taiwan.
How?
And
Like you? How?
oh, like the sea lion just came to me, and I'll be like, "Okay, go up, jump on the slide." I was just doing stuff with my hands, and he was just following whatever I said, and the trainer was looking at me like, "What are you doing?" And then they had to, when he was done, they went and locked him up in his cage, and he was flapping at the gate and crying, calling out to me. So I had to go and talk to him, and the trainer was looking at me with his face like, "Are you?" Yeah, and I came face to face with a tiger once at Malacca Zoo. I remember it was one of my shows, and I don't know how I knew how to be around the tiger, and the guy who raised the tiger, because it was an orphan, he's like, "Macam mana you buat macam tu? Macam mana dia tahu?" And I didn't know how. I knew how to stand. I knew how to hold its weight, and he was just playing with me like a cat. I even have the video. I maybe I should share it someday. It's just yeah, like just something that's very innate, and a consciousness that I guess it's like I said, just with young. Yeah,
You have that energy, I think, and the animals feel it.
I'm so boisterous and I'm so loud, but when it comes to animals, I become like, this big head little pussycat. I don't know. Now we're humans, definitely.
Now, you've been with the SPCA as an ambassador for the past 8 years now, right? What made you decide to support this charity?
It was something that I've always wanted to, actually, from a young age, right? I mean, being a rescuer, doing my own rescue. So SPCA was naturally like the only body in Malaysia that everyone knew growing up. So when I won Miss World Malaysia, I wanted to take on a cause of charity that was very close to my heart, and so I approached them, and yeah, it's been 8 years ever since. I rescued this really old dog that was abandoned on the street, and I forced my dad to drive me all the way to JB because no other shelter in KL would take her in. And she could barely walk. She was limping. She had cataract. She had liver issues. But this old man in JB, who I think if you Google him, you'll be able to see, he's like, "Bring her here." So me and my dad literally drove all the way down to JB and left her there. I mean, it's a beautiful place. And yeah, I think she's no longer, but she had a good life till she passed.
Because a lot of times people just think like, they're animals, they're pets.
Yeah.
They don't deserve the life a human does, they deserve to be chained outside, that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
also because people don't know, when you sit down and actually talk to an animal, be it a dog or a cat, they're sentient beings. I think people first thing, they don't realize how sentient they are. They feel, they breathe, they feel pain, they bleed the same. It's just a little bit of effort on us humans to try and understand them, and it's really rewarding. It's quite magical, actually, the connection that you can have with an animal. It's amazing, and I think that for me is the most rewarding part, especially with my rescues. Rescue dogs love a different way, I would say. Really love a different way. They're always thanking you for giving them a better life, and I've always experienced that with all my rescues.
Can anybody get that connection with their pets?
I'm sure you can. It just takes a little bit of effort, right? Because like I said, they're voiceless. So, you're not meeting like a human to human for the first time, and you're going like, hi, how are you? And you're able to gauge a connection and a communication of sorts, because we share the same sort of communication. I think it just takes a little bit more effort to just sit down or go to a level of an animal, eye to eye, and you can instantly feel, if you open up yourself and you're more conscious. Yeah, definitely. It's very natural to do something like that, and I think we are living very unnaturally when it comes to feeling for animals.
Do you think nowadays? I don't know why. I don't know whether it's just social media, or maybe people are highlighting a lot more of these cases. But does it seem that there are a lot more animal abuse cases nowadays compared to back in the day?
That's a really good question, JD. I honestly feel, no, I wouldn't say there's a lot more. I just feel because of social media, we're just able to know and hear of all of this. Prior to this, we didn't have such platforms. Because of working with an NGO, I would hear cases on a daily basis. I would receive messages like, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. But I think with social media, we're just able to know more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The news is able to be disseminated to a wider audience, I think.
Correct. Definitely.
So you think laws should be much, much stricter for people who abuse animals?
Of course. I think Malaysia now, we do have fines up to 50,000 ringgit for people who neglect animals, especially your pet. But we still have a long way to go. But yeah, otherwise, I think the abuse is just going to keep happening, and it's never going to stop.
So why should people actually adopt instead of buying pets? I know a lot of people say adopt, don't shop, but what is the actual reason behind adopting?
Talk about this adopt, don't shop, why, like for an entire day, because it's such a crazy, tedious process, right? But I'll just break it down for you in the simplest way. The main thing when it comes to adopt, don't shop is because when you do buy a pet, the ones that are on the streets don't get a chance to have a home. And every time you do adopt from a street, you give another street dog who's living out there without food, without shelter, a chance to be adopted into a shelter and then possibly into a home when the time comes. So it's a cycle, right, guys? If you can see, like a domino effect. So that's why I stress so much on adopting and not shopping. I grew up with German Shepherds. Like my entire family loved German Shepherds until it came to a point where, I was 10. Everything started for me at 5 and 10 years of age. Very, very strong memories for me. I remember driving by with my dad in the car, and I saw this dog on the streets, and I'm like, there's so many dogs on the streets we can adopt instead of just buying like another Sam, because we named most of our German Shepherds Sam. I remember telling my dad that, and he was like, yeah, we could. And I think from then on, we stopped buying. And then the rest of my years, I just grew up with the dogs that I rescued. So yeah, if you want to buy a pure breed dog, I'm not against it, because dogs are dogs, cats are cats, animals are animals. maybe buy one because you love a certain breed, but maybe your next dog or your cat could be an adopted one. So, you have that fine balance, and you're also helping at the same time all the animals that are living on the streets.
When the buying stops, the cruelty stops as well, right? So it's what they say.
That is very true, and the suffering stops. They know animals on the streets that are suffering and waiting for food at the mama stall. Like I said, when you go to a mama stall, you see like these animals just waiting for a bone or something, and you're like, it's not gonna be asking you or begging, you're just gonna stay there. So and I also encourage, do feed if you can, but also be conscious. We do have a lot of programs right now that you can spay and neuter a dog, and you can still feed them out there so they don't reproduce and be a nuisance to society as well.
Yeah. What do you think of people who buy or get animals because it's a fad? Hey, it's the year of the rat, let's go get a hamster, and let's go get like the year of the dog, let's go get like all these cool dogs and everything, and after a year they get rid of them.
You'd be surprised, right? So many people do that, right? Like, I think now white mice are like the thing. Everybody wants a white mice pet or like a hamster, because in the rodent family, the year of the rat, whatever you call it. But yeah, it's like it's a trend. And I mean, I think you need to be very conscious and remember, when you do get a pet, do extensive research on it. A dog is at least a 15-year commitment, if not 10. And you really need to care for the animal. It's not something that it's cute, and then when it grows up, you're like, okay, bye, you're not so cute anymore. And we see a lot of dumping happening because of that. Just be really responsible when you do want to get a pet, and do your research and know what you're getting into, because it's a huge responsibility, and they become a part of your family. You need to care for this being.
Now, you said earlier that your parents are animal lovers as well, right? But how can other parents sort of encourage this compassion for animals in their children?
I think it all starts at home, right? Like they say, charity starts at home. I see my nephews all growing up. I think it's also in the bloodline that everybody loves animals, so they all do. But I think parents need to be able to engage their kids more with animals and teach them from a young age about compassion and kindness. Like, for example, I see my nephew now, he's 3, Anuja's baby, and he loves Kaya. He loves Kaya Bun. But sometimes he goes and grabs her tail, and Anuja will go like, no, you can't grab his tail. You got to be gentle and, stroke and play with Kaya gently. So I think it all really starts with parents at home, Belinda. You just have to be aware of how your kids are around the animal, and just teach them to be gentle and kind, and that actually makes them into better human beings. I mean, kids who grow up with pets are more compassionate, more loving, and become more wholesome beings when they grow older. There's extensive research on that can prove. Yeah.
That's why I'm such a loving person.
I think the closest experience to being a mom for me, I mean, my sister's a mom, my twin's a mom, all my girlfriends are, but I think for me, the closest I've ever felt this whole nightly feed thing was when I rescued a baby monkey. I don't know whether you guys saw that on my social media once. I was looking after a baby monkey for like a good month, and oh my god, it slept with me on my chest. I had to wake up every 2 hours to feed it in the middle of the nights. It wouldn't let me go. It was just holding on to me like, oh my god. It pooed and peed on me, and I'm like, I hear that from my girlfriends who are mothers. Puppies, right? You could still put them in a basket and they'll sleep off in the middle of that, but this baby monkey.
So wait, for those who don't know this, how did this happen? Why did you become a baby monkey's mom?
I can't legally attain a baby monkey. So this baby monkey was actually given to me by my friend. Its mother was at her ex-husband's house and fell off from the roof and died. So the baby monkey was stuck up in what to do, and I work quite closely also with the Malaysian Gibbon Society, and my friend who runs the place, she's like, Thanuja, I can't take him in until like a month or so because I don't have place. And I was literally fostering it for a month, and then eventually it gave it back to the Malaysian Gibbon Society, and now he's running wild and free up in the forest of Pahang, just so you know, integrated with a bunch of monkeys.
So there was some monkey business going on in your house then.
Monkey. That was not easy, you know. That was also one of my most memorable rescues. But that was a whole different experience compared to like looking after a dog or a cat, man. That was crazy.
But
And buying toys.
parting with it,
Elmo.
did you feel upset though? Did you get
Oh my God,
emotional?
I cried my eyes out. It was so difficult for me. It was so difficult. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I'd be like, why are you attached onto me?
Why didn't you keep it?
It was with me, sleeping in my room on me, babe. Because it was so traumatized and it was so young. Like, just like a glitch. And you know, I even to date, I can't believe like its hands and fingers are just like us humans, you know. It's so unbelievable. And when you look into its eyes, and because we don't get that such a close interaction with a wild animal. And that was just so amazing for me, like an eye opener of a different kind.
Now, you know,
And I feed oat milk.
wild animals
milk.
should be in the wild, right? But if you could,
Would you have kept him?
yeah.
No, I wouldn't, because you know they need space and they need to run around and climb trees, and I just can't. Yeah, I would never recommend keeping a wild animal to anybody in their compound or home. Wild animals need to be back in the wild for
Good.
sure.
That's the thing
Yeah.
about animal lovers, right? Like if you have such a strong connection, some people will probably just keep it. But because you are an animal lover, you feel like this animal will do better in the wild rather than with me.
Unless there's really no, like, you know, you've tried integrating him back into the wild and it can't just integrate back and it just keeps coming back, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
But other than that, as much as you can try and get it back to its original habitat for sure.
Now, besides being a voice for animals, what other charities do you support or are involved in?
You know, growing up, so my mom is very big into giving back to society, I feel. So she runs to date. She used to work in the Pure Life Society. I don't know whether you've heard of it. It's an orphanage home along Old Klang Road. And my sister and I remember from young, she used to take us every holidays, during school holidays, to go and sit down and spend time with the kids there, and learn with them their homework during their malam muhiba, and we would, you know, organize plays with them. So she always made sure we were very exposed to charity work from a very young age. And I think if there's any other charity that's closer to my heart, I think it would be Orphan Kids. Yeah, because I actually grew up with them a lot, and we used to bring them back for during Deepavalis. You know, my mom would bring back a child and they would stay with us for a week. So yeah, I think that would be probably my other soft spot that I have. In terms of charity when it comes to besides animals.
Now, how can someone get involved in charitable causes, and why should they? I think that's the important question.
Starts at home, I think. Like for me, charity starts at home. I think as parents, you need to, especially now in this day and age, I think it's very important to expose kids to the reality of stuff that's happening in the world, because I think it just humbles you. I think it's an experience that stays with you no matter where you go and how big you grow in life. Like, it's just something that you always it's always deep rooted in your head, you know, like, hey, you're very lucky, you know, you have everything that a lot of people don't. So I think it's something that you need to instill from a very young age. It just makes you a better human being.
Now, Thanuja, what advice would you give to people who would like to do more for society, but they don't know where to start or what charities to get involved in?
I think the first thing is you identify what you feel strongly about. You know, something that's close to your heart. Because once you do that, it's just like a golden compass inside you that will be able to guide you. You know, like I remember winning Miss World Malaysia, and I remember at that time my management told me, Thanuja, I wanted to do a video on animals, and my management told me, Thanuja, no, you have to do something about kids. We've always done kids all these years. And I'm like, but guys, I got nothing against kids, but animals are something that's really close to my heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I wanted when it comes to animals because it's a cause that I really believe in and I feel so strongly about. And I don't want to greenwash and whatever. And I think that is something, that's why even to date, like, people ask me like, hey, you know, you won that pageant like so many years ago, but you've pushed for your animal welfare work then, and you're still pushing for it now. And I'm like, I find it a very strange question because, yeah, but it's because something that I strongly feel about. So it's not going to stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's a cause that you don't feel strongly about, you're only going to be able to do it for a certain amount of time. And then it's just going to fade away. It's not going to be something that you want to keep doing. And I don't think even it's like a want. It's like I said, it's just like a guide in you that you will just keep wanting to do. Like you just keep doing it regardless. So find that passion, if it's animals or if it's for old folks or if it's for kids. And then you have Google, you know, you have so many resources that you're able to go and find. And yeah, you just connect you very naturally to something that you want to do or want to help in.